so choked up by everybody's talks that I think this is going to be hard. But anyway, thank you. People don't know that Art's uncle and I spent 52 hours in a car together this summer. So he was able to work in a few little secret messages, including several names of books that I've written. And I have to say, because today is a really big day for me, I turned in today my 5th book to Simon & Schuster. I hit send about 6 hours ago, and I did not sleep all night. So and Peter knew when he chose this date that this was going to be the way it was. So anyway, I wrote some things down, and if I fall asleep in the middle of my own talk, start clapping, I'll wake up. So I am 55. My mom very nicely said when she saw Nicole's stunning portrait, "You're not that old." And I said, "Mom, I am actually growing up. I'm 55. It's hard to believe, but here I am." So anyway, I chose one question because it's something I've thought about a lot. And that is, if I had a chance to go back and talk to my 21-year-old self, that dear girl, what would I say? And that raises for me a kind of an essential question. Would I tell her about the joy, or would I tell her about the suffering? What would I say? And that made me start thinking, I don't think I'd tell her about everything that's coming. I don't think that would be a very good idea. But I would give her a few little scripts that I have come to rely on in my life, what you might think of kind of as my greatest hits, okay? The things I tell myself time and time again, because it occurs to me if I were to speak to my 21-year-old self, the very first thing I would say is stop thinking about the wrong things. So I wrote down some of my little scripts because knowing I was going to be tired, I thought I might actually forget them. And I think my little scripts would help her to do 2 things. I think they would help her to be a better person, but I think they would also help her open up to joy in the face of suffering. So I would tell her to remember what I think is my very biggest motto. Whenever something difficult happens with another person, a person you love or a person in the grocery store, less said, more time. I'm going to work in a small story about my grandmother, my mother's mother. My mother is over here. On her 75th birthday, she stood up and she said, "I have decided I have not been saying everything I was thinking. And I am going to start saying." And my grandmother lived to be 100. And so on her 80th birthday, she stood up and she said to her 10 grandchildren, and Mom, how many grandchildren? 16, great-grandchildren, whatever. And she said, "I said 5 years ago that I was going to start saying everything I thought. And I am telling you, it is not worth it." Less said, more time. I learned that on my grandmother's 80th birthday. Usually if you give it a little more time, the thing that you thought you would never get over, the thing you thought you had to say, that friendship that you were just going to go to the mat on, or the teacher that you thought should never be teaching, whatever it was, less said, more time. Can you say that? Less said, more time. Thank you. She did not know that, my 21-year-old self. Try not to fall into other people's states of mind. Okay, so who lives with other people? Yeah. Has anybody noticed if one person in the house is in a crappy mood, you're all within 20 minutes? It's a domino effect. Don't fall into other people's states of mind. I would tell her, do not put anyone out of your heart, but start with yourself. So about a Julie, you are enough. Do not put yourself out of your heart. I was not in my 21-year-old self's heart. Forgive for your sake. It is so tempting to run around holding on to all the things that have been done. Our mind veers so quickly to what happened to us. But your story of suffering is a very heavy blanket. It is very hard to drag it around with you. Forgive for your sake so that you can free yourself from the suffering that takes away the joy. You cannot see the joy when you are under the blanket of your suffering. Connect, only connect. E.M. Forrester said it first. And I mean connect. Take that 20-second hug every time you can get it or give it. You do not know how long the people you love will be here. Look into people's eyes and see the child that's in them. And I mean pupil to pupil. There's some interesting studies that show us that when we look at people's mouths, we're looking at their mouths anthropologically because we're afraid of being eaten. Look into people's eyes. Take in the good. It is so easy to get distracted by what is bad. Take in the good. I stare at clouds. Look at the shimmer in a tree, your child's smile. Every time you think of something bad, think of something good. We wear our bad thoughts like that 2% of our wardrobe. We wear them over and over and over again. Look for the other 98%. Think of your benefactors. Think of the people who made you when you were small feel that you were enough. And be grateful for them as they pass through this life. And I want to say something else. I want to say that all the photos that we see around us in everyone's slideshow are so beautiful. But they do not show our tears. They do not show our suffering. You will see pictures of my son painting I love you on an easel, of me standing in a tree with my daughter in the backyard, my husband and I hugging at birthday parties and weddings and births. But you do not see that when I was 12, I went to the hospital to say goodbye to my father. Sorry, I'm really tired. That's my excuse. You will not see that my son almost died when he was born and that I lived in a little room down the hall at the hospital for the first year of his life, several weeks at a time, while he was in intensive care. He's the one who almost got away. You cannot see it in our pictures. You cannot see in our photos the times that I was paralyzed with an autoimmune disease and my kids were pushing me in a wheelchair. We do not take pictures of our suffering. But I think in those joyful photos, we see what gives us meaning. They see the love that makes us get up every day. Even if I could tell my 21-year-old self everything that I have learned, I would still only show her the good pictures. Because they're what give us the thing that gets us through everything that sucks. They're what gives us the love that lets us grow. And they're what gets us up in the morning to go out and find the meaning that is life. And that's all I have to say.